Good evening, everyone. The title of my essay is My Hero Is. When thinking about who our heroes are in today's world, youth is often led to thinking of superheroes. The truth is, we need not look too far from our own communities or even our own homes to find a true hero. Someone who has put their life on the line for the greater good. We have titled these people veterans, a person who has had a long experience in a particular field.
Bring the kids home.
We do not need to think too hard on whether this definition is true. No matter the total years of service, all veterans have had to deal with training those who go to war, going to war themselves, or being the very ones who make the decision that could end someone's life. We like to think about veterans with a positive light, and we should. However, the things veterans have to go through are almost never positive. That is why they are heroes, our heroes. When I think of a hero, I think of someone who is brave, strong, hardworking, trustworthy, and unselfish. My personal heroes who live up to that criteria are my family members. My family was raised around the military. My grandpa made W-5 while in the Army and served during Vietnam. He went on to receive a Purple Heart, Bronze and Silver Star, Broken Wings Award, and finally 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses. My grandmother, who met my grandfather while in the military, was a flight surgeon in the Air Force. She went on to go from E1 to O3E. My mother, who just retired on October 1st, was in the Navy. She also went from E1 to O3E. She was also a big influence for me and a big reason I wished to commission into the Navy after college. My father honorably discharged from the Navy as an E4 after meeting my mom and being diagnosed with asthma. I guess she literally took his breath away. My uncle retired from the Navy as an E7 and raised my cousin, who went on to be honorably discharged from the Navy as an E5 after a tour in Iraq. All of these family members had one thing in common. They might not have known what they wanted to do with their lives, but they knew they wanted to help people, and that they did. All veterans have one thing in common, a will to fight and the strength to do what is right, commonly referred to as integrity. Although I believe everyone in my family who has served in the military is a hero, if I had to choose one person in particular who stood out to me, it would be my grandfather. My grandfather went into the Army at a very young age during the time of the Vietnam War. He originally enlisted into the Army and then later became a warrant officer. He used to be very closed off about all of his experiences. It can be very hard to talk about something as savage and gruesome as war. When he became a warrant officer, he went into the aviation field as a pilot. He studied really hard to achieve that. My father told me stories from when he was a kid. He always saw my grandfather reading up on the newest helicopter, specifically how to fly it. When my grandfather finally did open up about experiences, boy did he have stories to tell. He told us that he had been shot down 3 times in the rice fields. Most people would walk away from that and call it off, but he didn't. That resonated with me. I finally learned the lesson that has always been instilled in me: never give up. He went on to earn many awards in the Army, such as the ones previously mentioned. Although he received many awards, he never really talked about them, maybe due to not wanting to think about what he went through to receive them, or maybe choosing to be humble. I like to choose the latter because it taught me another lesson: never brag about your accomplishments. Because there is always someone who did or gave up more. While most of the Vietnam War was a bad experience, he did talk about some good. As a pilot in the Army during war, he received accelerated flight training. He got to fly many different helicopters in the Army. He even had a pet snake on the base named George. Even after retirement from the Army, he was still teaching and making a difference. He became an instructor pilot and the head of safety at an organization that taught soldiers to fly. While instructing a young gentleman, they were up in the air flying. The engine failed. Even being an experienced pilot, he was still shaken, but he knew what he had to do. He calmed his nerves and took control of the plane and guided it into an opening in the woods. The plane sustained heavy damage on its wings and tail. However, thanks to his quick reactions, he saved his own life and the student pilot inside. Because of my family's experiences on me, I could not imagine doing anything other than helping those around me. Unfortunately, the road to commissioning is still 6 years away. I keep myself occupied with school, my school's JRTC, my Civil Air Patrol Squadron, and my school's National Honor Society. There is no better feeling than helping or teaching someone and seeing how it changes their day, or sometimes even their life. I cannot begin to imagine what it must feel like to be a veteran and know that you defended your entire country. There are so many veterans out there, young and old. So many of them fought through so much to get where they are today. Some veterans made the ultimate sacrifice and went down fighting, which is by far the most honorable death I could imagine. In conclusion, America is the land of the free. because of the many brave soldiers, sailors, and airmen who fought to keep this world a safer place. Thank you.